Well, it is time to take the Bumpside Diesel into town to get one of the final pieces of the puzzle, a new windshield. And today's the day we're going to see how Ruby likes the Bumpside Diesel. Ruby, my German short-hair pointer, typically goes with me when I leave the ranch, and she loves to go to town, so we'll see how she likes it. Now you're not going to get to see this until our next upcoming video, but I have since done a whole lot to make the Bumpside Diesel much quieter than when it was when I took it on its maiden voyage. And it is now much nicer to drive. So this is the saw that I mentioned a few weeks back, a month or so back in a video, that this is a two-man crosscut saw, and Cedar mentioned to me that somebody said in the comments that no, in fact, it's not a two-man crosscut saw, it's a one-man crosscut saw, and I'm here to show you that in fact it can be a two-man crosscut saw. So I got online and I ordered the handle that should have come with this saw, but it didn't have it when I received it. And I'm going to show you that it's both a two-man crosscut saw as well as having the handle on here and what that does for leverage while cutting. I bet I wear out a good pair of work boots every 3 months, just because of how we live, because of hiking around on the mountain. I'm always looking for a good pair of work boots.
That's why we're excited to be working today with Brunt boots.
The Brunt value proposition is that Brunt makes the most comfortable work boots on the market. The very first thing I noticed was how comfortable they were from the jump. I've had boots that took months and months and months to break in, and that was not the case with my Brunt boots.
With our weather and working conditions, they're super durable and they're waterproof.
And they're made of barnyard resistant leather. I like that.
Perfect for us here.
Yeah. They are slip, oil, and heat resistant up to 572 degrees Fahrenheit. Brunt boots are very affordable. You can wear them to work and try them out, and if you don't like them, you can return them for a full refund. So if you want high quality boots and you want $10 off, make sure you click the link in our description below.
Or go to bruntworkwear.com/redpoppyranch10 and use the code redpoppyranch10 to get $10 off your first order of $60 or more. These boots will last you a long time, and remember that when you support our sponsors, you're supporting our channel.
Thanks, Brunt, for sponsoring this video. I'm looking forward to wearing these boots all summer long. Okay, and then we have a real crosscut saw. Okay, don't, you gotta kind of let it work. There you go. Straight, I'm curving it, straight. It's cutting way better. Now with my lovely wife, Cedar's help, you can see that this is clearly a two-man crosscut saw, but I really need to order one more handle just to capitalize on the benefits of this saw.
There.
Two-man crosscut saw.
Oh boy, they make that look easy on TV.
Yeah, if I had to do that for our firewood, we'd be in trouble.
That is a two-man crosscut saw.
I'm gonna order one more handle just in case, but I'm telling you, if I had to do that every day, I'd be a different kind of person, that's for sure.
Imagine if it was big.
Yeah, we wouldn't be cutting big maple. We'd be cutting 4-inch maple, and the big stuff would probably have to wait for a rainy day. That's a workout.
Well done.
I was unable to finish the trail last week because at the end of the day I lost the bucket pin and I couldn't find it. So rather than buying a new bucket pin, this is my solution. So rather than spending $109 on a Bobcat pin for the Bobcat Exchange bucket, I ran down to the steel yard and picked up a 4-foot piece of 1.25" mild steel for, I think I paid $36 for it. The only concern that I have is what I read online is that Bobcat pins are slightly tapered, but after running the pin through both holes, I can't see why this wouldn't work other than the fact that it is not a hardened pin, so in theory it's going to wear out a lot faster. So I'm going to kind of piece off this, drill it out real quick, and see if we can't get back up on the mountain. Come here, Bandit. What are you doing? What are you doing, Bandit? Come here. Come here, Bandit. Come here, Bandit. You're the best dog ever. You're the best dog ever. Every family should have an Idaho shag, by the way. You're the best dog, man. You're the best dog. You're the best. Yes, you're the best. If I ever give my wife a hug too many times, he gets a little nervous and gets in between us. He's got all the character you could possibly want in a dog. He is so. I think Cedar and I have decided that from this point on we're going to have some version of an Idaho shag, and that's probably it. Well, not bad for $10 versus $110. I'm gonna grease it up real quick, fuel it up, and I'm taking off up the side of the mountain. It's time to finish this trail. Nearly 30 years ago was the first time I saw a documentary called Alone in the Wilderness about a guy named Dick Prinicky that basically quit his job and went and lived in the Alaskan wilderness for many years after that. But shortly after Cedar and I got married, she bought me this documentary so I could watch that whenever I wanted to. And I bet I watch that documentary still to this day at least once a year. Over my shoulder there, you can see the two trees that I'm kind of aiming at, and maybe a couple of hours tomorrow is all that's going to be needed. I got to stop for the day and run to town and take the bump side down to get a new windshield. And then I'm going to get back up here in the morning and get this finished. Sure is pretty, even though it is windy. All right, I am on my way to go drop my truck off at the windshield guy and get a new windshield in this thing. But I must say, as far as bang for my buck, the door seals completely changed this truck, or collectively everything changed the truck, and the door seals being the final piece of the puzzle, I would say. And I still have to fix one of the vents. One of the vents is wide open right now, and it's reasonable in here for a diesel engine, and I still have the transfer case open because the transfer case boot isn't here. So it needs an alignment, needs a windshield, and then I'm going to take this thing for a long drive. So literally probably a 75, 80 feet that way is the two Doug firs I'm aiming at. And anyway, today's the day. I should be able to get over there without any problems. So here we go. If you saw the documentary Alone in the Wilderness about this guy Dick Prinicky, then you would know that he built everything he had, including his little cabin, with his own two hands. Dick was in his mid-50s when he started this journey, and I remember that he took tremendous pride in his craftsmanship, and I also remember that his arms, from doing all that physical labor, were very large for a man his age. He was in great shape. The lifestyle that this man was living was in some of the hardest country on the planet. It would routinely get down to 60 below in the wintertime, but he seemed to flourish in nature. Again, if you haven't seen this documentary Alone in the Wilderness, I would recommend watching it. But if you're between the ages of 18 and 21, I would be careful. Leave Chris Ledoux alone as well. I bumped the GoPro and I thought I could fix it without getting out of the excavator. The point I'm trying to make about that documentary, Alone in the Wilderness, is one thing. When you're between the ages of 18 and 21, be careful what you watch, I guess, but also it's clear that the lifestyles that we choose are going to lead to the quality of life that we live. He was incredibly active. and the lifestyle that he lived required him to be in great shape. He would end up living out there in the woods for many, many, many years after that, and he would die in his late 80s, if I recall correctly. Now, I don't want to live as long as he did, but I would love to be in his shape at his age. Cutting in this mountainside trail not only gives us access to places on our property that I've never been able to get, but it also gives me a designated trail up the side of our mountain that will eventually lead to the very top of our mountain that I can hike every day if I want to. By the way, that's the big Doug fir in the background that I've been trying to get to for so long. Once the trail is completely finished, it will end up being about 1.8 miles long, maybe even 2 miles long, where the elevation starts at 5,500 feet and will end at 6,700 feet, which is also the very, very, very top of our mountain. And I'm going to spend the summer seeing how fast I can climb this trail. But the weather is changing so fast right now, I'm going to have to give the mountain a few weeks to dry out. I can tell these are some of the last days that I'm going to be able to get the excavator up here without doing too much damage. The south-facing sides of the mountains have no snow on them at all right now, but we still have every bit of 2 to 3 feet of snow, and that snow has to go somewhere, and it's supposed to be 66 degrees next week. But the good news is, we got it finished. All right, so we did it. We're done here. This is as far as I'm going to go with the trail at this exact moment. I came out above where I thought I would come out, so I have plenty of elevation. And really the question now becomes, do I do this one more time or a couple more times around this back part of our property? And I think at some point I probably will. But right now I can get access to the very top of our mountain using this ridge. There's actually a trail that kind of goes up that way. And anyway, this is fascinating for me to get up here. I'm going to go fly the drone and kind of see what it looks like. But the main reason why this is so important for me to have access to this up here is that fence line that borders our property in the national forest. That nobody wants to deal with that fence, and it ultimately is going to come down to us. And so in order to maintain that fence properly, I need to get my excavator up there and run all the way down that fence line and clean all the trees and the brush up so that fence can be maintained. Right now, it hasn't been maintained. It's supposed to have been maintained, but it hasn't for probably 15 years at least. And I'm getting tired of having other people's cows in my property. So ultimately, I'm going to get the excavator up there hopefully one more time this summer and run down that fence line. And then I just get to decide what I'm going to do with this back here. I've spent very little time back here, but every time I get back up in here, I'm always just kind of fascinated because it's kind of its own little ecosystem back in here. A lot of fun, but I should probably get off the mountain while the storms are kicking up. So I'm going to give you a little bit longer than normal tour using the drone of what this new trail does for us here at Red Poppy Ranch. The new trail will give us access all the way up along the side of this new deer pen that we are actively building. And this is the number one reason why I started building the trail. But the further up the mountain I got, the more I could see that with the terrain that we have to work with, if I'm picky about how I do this, we should get access to places on our property that I've really never been able to get to. And simply because of time and how I do things, it has now taken me almost 2 years to get to this point. But you can see that the trail thus far has now given me access to our little cabin, which before was even harder to get to. And since cutting this trail in, we've been able to use the cabin. But if we continue on past the cabin, you can now see this knob that I've talked about so many times. And at some point down the road, I'm going to dig the switch back out to make it much bigger and much safer so we can turn around without any conflicts. But here is where you can see the trail finally comes to an end on another one of these finger ridges. And now I get to decide if I'm just going to use this ridge to get access to the top of the mountain, or if I'm going to continue with the progression of the trail and make a safe trail across the front of the mountain and then maybe loop up around the other side. Again, it took me 2 years to get this done, but now that I have the trail established, I'm going to take the excavator back down it multiple times, making it more even, grading it the best that I can, and more importantly, making the trail wider and more usable on the way down. We are about 2 weeks away from our 9-year anniversary since purchasing the original 40 acres that was Red Poppy Ranch. After purchasing the land next to us, out of the 80 acres that we own, at least half of it is behind that final ridge on the back of the mountain. And any normal person would clearly say, why in the world would you waste your time here? But I'm here to tell you that after 9 years, I can see where we're going, and I'm excited to try and get there. And I'm trying to make the most out of what I have to work with. And again, we're trying to do this around our little fallow deer herd. So in the future, I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, but I am constantly going to explore our property and make decisions based on the access that I now have to places on our property that I've never been. Well, it ain't for everybody, but it is for me. Thank you guys for continuing to watch our content and supporting us. It means the world to us that you would spend your time consuming what we're trying to create. And we're going to continue to create way more content around our little deer farm this summer as we expand and grow. Thank you again. Be safe out there.